happening. We have Therapist and Patty Politics. For this debate, Therapist has taken the position that the official story about the collapse of World Trade Center 7 is false. Patty Politics has taken the opposition. When we base upon who concedes, we don't get a vocal concession. We'll put it to a voting poll in which you, the audience, can decide on who you think performed better overall in the debate. No moderation, no time limit. Thank you both for giving us your time. And Therapist, you can open up if you'd like.
Sure. So my position of this is 9/11 in itself is shrouded in mist. But I personally thought that's just scratching the topic. And for getting into this subject, why not take something that is easier, more controversial than 9/11 itself? And this leads me to this World Trade Center 7 building, which also collapsed on that fateful day in the afternoon. I will heavily quote my document which I wrote. So if the listeners are interested, they might want to open up that document. So it's not going to be a long argument points I'm making. It's just going to be short and with a lot of evidence and material. So I'm saying that based on the information and the official report, which said or which stated from the NSIT that World Trade Center 7 on 9/11 at 5:21 p.m. collapsed due to uncontrollable fires in the building. And that's caused by heavy debris falling from one of the other big World Trade Centers. Um, okay, so I'm gonna go one by one to debunk that and to make my arguments to that. So I have two pictures here which show the other big buildings crashing down and some white pulver hitting the World Trade Center 7. I'll point out that it is the building with the top with the somewhat of triangular shape, you could say, and has this black line on top. I will not deny that it has been hit by some debris falling from the other towers, but it wasn't enough to cause an internal fire. If you scroll to the bottom, there will be a picture. It's the first picture showing some fires in the bottom levels of the building. And my first point is that there was no the fire was I don't know how the fire was caused, but a fire like that can't cause so much structural damage that a building could collapse from that. Not if it's a solid steel building, which World Trade Center 7 was. I have a comparison to under or to validate my point, and it's I'm going off the Madrid Windsor Tower, which also had a very it burned quite a lot, and it's the other two pictures I have at the bottom of my document, which you see the first picture of it totally in flames, and the second picture showing it the day after. So you see how the only a part of it is burnt down, and you see black the black ash part. So and to show how World Trade Center 7 collapsed, my second last YouTube video link, which I have, shows a 30-second footage of the World Trade Center 7 crashing down in itself in a few seconds. Um, going off, so I'll also in the official report it says that the fire system malfunctioned, and I'd like to point out that it is a very controversial topic, also because of the news reports about it. At 5 p.m., exactly 5 p.m., the BBC made a live broadcast with text underscoring of the World Trade Center 7 collapsing in front of a window. They did that in a building, and in the window, in the background, you can see this World Trade Center 7 building still standing. So as research, you first have the incident and then you have the news. But in this case, it was the other way around. And the BBC claimed they got false information from Reuters. And the question then is, from where did they know? And I'll close my opening statement here.
I'll be honest, I kind of had a hard time understanding your points. And I kind of had a hard time just kind of understanding your argument in general. Um, I mean, what exact? So I'm going to explain from the NIST report why World Trade Center 7 collapsed on itself. Sorry, one second. Here we go. And I mean, there are a couple of problems, right? Like, you made some claims about, well, other buildings didn't fall this way. We have pictures of I mean, sure, we have pictures of the building and every single one of these conspiracy theories. And mind you, conspiracy theories about World Trade Center 7 are directly linked to conspiracy theories about the World Trade Centers in general, such as nonsense like Bush orchestrated the World Trade Center 7, I mean, World Trade Center attacks and things like that. So, and then furthermore, these conspiracy theories are most often encouraged by people who have no real background in things like construction, and they had no background or connection to the construction of these World Trade Center buildings. By the way, just because a building is built to survive something or is built to take a plane does not mean that it actually performs that way. For example, the Titanic was built to not sink, and yet it sunk. So, number one, what caused the fires in World Trade Center 7? Debris from the collapse of World Trade Center 1, which was 370 feet to the south, ignited fires on at least 10 floors in the building at its south and west faces. However, only the fires on some of the lower floors, 7 through 9, 11, 13, burned out of control. And as you see, since you mentioned photos and videos, that the collapse of World Trade Center 7 happens bottom up, not top up, like the original World Trade Centers. So these lower floor fires, they spread and grew because the water supply to the automatic sprinkler system for these floors had failed. How did the fires cause World Trade Center 7 to collapse? The heat from the uncontrolled fires caused steel floor beams not to melt, but to thermally expand, leading to a chain of events that caused a key structural column to fail. The failure of these structural columns then initiated a fire induced progressive collapse of the entire building. Continued. Eventually, according to the report's probable collapse sequence, heat from the uncontrolled fires again caused thermal expansion of steel beams. Not melting, thermal expansion, which made them weaker. Eventually, a girder on floor 13 lost its connection to a critical column, which was column 79, that provided support for the long floor spans on the east side of the building. Sorry. So, if you guys don't know what a progressive collapse is defined as the spread of local damage from a single initiating event, from structural element to element, eventually resulting in the collapse of an entire structure or disproportionately large part of it. Now, your other complaint was because this building collapse is not normal. It's abnormal to the collapse of many other buildings that have been susceptible to fire or have been on fire. So, and number one, NIST actually acknowledges this, that the collapse of World Trade Center 7 is the first known instance of a tall building brought down primarily by uncontrolled fires, right? The fires in World Trade Center 7 were similar to those that have occurred in several tall buildings where the automatic sprinklers did not function or were not present. But the factors contributing to World Trade Center 7's collapse included thermal expansion of building elements such as floor beams and girders, which occurred at temperatures hundreds of degrees below those typically considered in current practice for fire-resistant ratings. The significant magnification of thermal expansion effects due to the long-span floors of the building and connections between structural elements that were designed to resist the vertical forces of gravity, not the thermally induced horizontal or lateral loads, and an overall structural system not designed to prevent fire-induced progressive collapse. So that's why World Trade Center 7 collapsed. It had nothing to do with steel beams melting. It had nothing to do with 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 someone detonating a bunch of bombs at the bottom of the building. It had to do with uncontrolled fires and honestly a kind of shitty design plan. So yeah, I like just your arguments about things aren't convincing. Like, what about what I just reported? What I just showed you is not convincing. You said that something was unconvincing to a lot of people, and therefore
Yeah.
because it's unconvincing, there's a problem with it. So what's up with that?
So first of all, I'd like to point out that NSIT has edited and redone that story a few times. So taking at that they had to do it multiple times and they always edited and changed things, I do not see the official report to being in any sort of valid. Now
Wait,
coming to my second point
I'm sorry,
of
but
you
that's a
saying
point in and of
that
itself.
official.
That's a point in and of itself. So let's go at that point. Because a body, a governmental body or a scientific body changes their initial analysis of a situation, does that mean that they're wrong or does it mean that their understanding of something has progressed?
I say that they're wrong.
I say that their understanding of something has progressed. For example, when you remember the death of Kobe Bryant, right?
Mhm.
The death of the basketball player Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, I
So
know.
right. So when it first happened and and the helicopter fell out the sky, the initial report was that maybe their pilot was drunk, maybe the pilot had ulterior motives. It could have been a murder suicide or some shit like that. Eventually, and reports still change over time about his death as they look at the components of that helicopter. That when they got up into the air, the I believe the fog blurred the guy's vision, and eventually just something happened to the mechanic structure of the helicopter, and they fell out of the sky. So I mean, just because a report isn't initially accurate or isn't initially fully explained does not mean that the report is wrong. It just means their understanding of the incident has progressed. Now, I mean, are you saying that when truthers, 9/11 truthers, post their propaganda on the internet, when they change, when they edit some information, does that mean that they're wrong?
There's the difference there between there being a government institution and the others being free people. Also, both use valid evidence, and so you said there was no I'm not speaking of experts or something like that. I have actual a site where about 3,300 architects and engineers all say that the collapse of that building was unnatural and has likely been caused by an explosion and not by a fire.
Ah,
So,
so
also
initially
28,200 members of the public also signed this.
So initially you went after my source, which would be a government source, and you claimed that because they're government, which is an appeal to authority, it's a fallacy. Because it's the government, They obviously have something to hide. They would not at all be vested, have an interest in the protection of their government structure or society or the people in their government. So clearly they would just want to lie, which you haven't explained why they would just want to lie. I'm going to guess it's likely because you already believe in conspiracy theories about the World Trade Center, September 11 in general, and so you likely believe that government orchestrated the whole September 11 attacks, which sure, if you want to believe, well, then why would government have something to hide about
Okay.
World Trade Center 7?
So I do not believe that the American government ordered it, but I do believe someone ordered it. And
Yeah,
I
it was a
also
terrorist
believe that 9/11 at itself just is fishy, and the facts and the truth hasn't been told yet, and that is factual.
So the terrorist group Al Qaeda orchestrated September 11, right? It wasn't the government of the United States that orchestrated September 11. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I probably agree that it wasn't the the United States of America.
Okay, considering that the United States has been in multiple heated conflicts with Al Qaeda, why would the United States lie about World Trade Center 7 for Al Qaeda?
So first off, I think you're missing that we're talking of the U.S. government,
Yeah.
which do lie a lot and do tend to hide a lot of things.
You mistake me
So
you mistake me for someone who has a vested love of government. I am a libertarian. I am the worst person to look for when it comes to trusting government. What I'm asking you is why would the United States have some sort of vested interest in gatekeeping for Al Qaeda to lie about World Trade Center 7? You haven't answered
I,
that.
to be honest, I don't know. But what I haven't mentioned yet is that there has been a quote, a recorded quote of the builder or the guy who ordered to build this World Trade Center 7 saying he agreed to a planned demolition of that building.
You think oh,
So
so you think that a group so you think that a group of construction engineers in the middle of World Trade Center 1 and 2 falling, being hit by planes would would agree to secretly, by the way, agree, all of them would agree and never write on the internet that they agreed to this, right? That we're going to demolish a building, World Trade Center 7, in the middle of a terrorist attack because it's easier. Like it's literally easier for them to just say, hey, we're going to demolish this building on this date, we're going to let everybody know. That's not fishy. But you think that they would rather hide it during the middle of a terrorist attack and not a single one talk about it?
yeah, and also
That's absurd.
which I want to think is very fishy is okay, maybe if it would have been okay, maybe it was caused due to internal fire. Okay, I'll say if
Mhm.
then a building with such fire damage, like seen with others, do tend to lose some parts of their structure first. So, and that was not the case with this building. It came straight down, like when you detonate a bomb and you demolish something, like say a a stone brick
I
tower
already I
where
already
the
went over this with you. I already went over this with you when NIST explained how a progressive collapse works. So I already explained this to you, and I need to post this source, by the way. I already explained how when you have a progressive collapse, that these fires, while some of them were on the upper floors, the worst of them were on the bottom floors, which caused thermal expansion. It didn't melt the beams; it caused the beams to expand, which weakened them Because they weakened, it caused a progressive collapse of the entire building. And like I said before, because the worst of the fires was on the bottom, you see exactly what you see in the video, which is a bottom up structural failure instead of from top down like the World Trade Centers, which when they were hit, right? When the World Trade Centers were hit, they not only was there tons of structural damage, but there were fires after. This caused a progressive collapse of the World Trade Center from top bottom. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, but then I have
So
another
why would that
question.
not be the
I'm
case?
going to
Just
question you
real
there.
quick, why would that not be the case for World Trade Center 7, in which debris went through the building? The worst of the fires happened on the bottom. Because of that, the steel beams expanded and weakened, and because of that, the critical column 79, that provided support for the long floor spans on the east side, lost its connection with a girder. The whole thing goes from bottom up. Does that make sense?
I have two questions.
Okay.
To some degree, it makes sense. First of all, do you have any picture proof of the heavy debris crashing down on it, like
Yeah, we
that could
do.
cause structural damage? Because I like to see that.
We do. We have
And
video. We have video showing debris hitting World Trade Center 7.
well, I'd like to see, because I haven't found any picture of any
That's
massive
very strange.
damage that could cause any structural damage
No, it doesn't
of
have to
that
look
sort.
I've seen car accidents that don't look that bad, but then the person in the car accident ends up with severe injuries, right?
That's
Like,
something else.
no, it's not. It's you saying, "Because I saw it and it didn't look that bad, then it can't be that bad." Your eyes aren't the expert.
It's the best you have, isn't
It's
it?
it may be a great sense to use, but that doesn't mean that what you see is always what you get. I've seen, like I said before, I've seen accidents, car accidents, people getting hit in the face. It sometimes it doesn't look that bad, but then you look at them and their nose is sideways. You're like, "Oh, that was actually a lot worse than I thought it was."
Okay, then another question. What about the news report that went 20 minutes too early?
What?
Tell me why that happened.
What are you talking about?
I mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. The BBC, the English national news, reported at 5 p.m. that World Trade Center 7 had collapsed, with even some text going under, which someone has to write in advance to go under there. But you see in the background of that interview, which I have as a source, my document is seeable, and you can see that the building is still standing. So
I don't know what you're talking.
how
I don't
how
have a picture. What
how
are you talking about? I don't have a picture of this.
it's the last link in my document.
Microsoft Office has identified a potential security concern.
It does always, doesn't it? So if you look at that report, you see that the building is still standing in the background, and that woman is saying, "That building just collapsed." BBC then said, we got misinformation from Reuters, their information suppliers. How can you get an information before it happens if it's not orchestrated? or
Wait, I'm
somewhat
sorry.
planned.
So first of all, this video is kind of a bunch of spam, right? Someone's personal it's someone's personal here, I'm gonna link this so that other people can see what I'm talking about.
Oh
231.
wait.
Thank you, cool
Oh
dog.
wait. Oh damn! Wait, that's the wrong video. I had a better one. I thought I had that one. Wait. If you just Google quick BBC report World Trade Center 7, it will come up.
Wait, so you're saying that
BBC.
it's some sort of conspiracy that after 2 large towers fell, a news agency happened to mess up that maybe another tower fell, and that's like a conspiracy? That's like a big thing?
Not that it would fall. They said literally it fell.
So?
That it how as a somewhat of historian, you could say, you have something that happens, then you get the report,
Wait,
like
does
VNS.
does the
But that
news
is
does the news ever mess up? Do news reporters ever mess
sure a
up?
bunch of times.
So why can't they mess up on this occasion? Why couldn't it just be a mistake?
How can that be a mistake if you
And
they
here's the other thing.
said
Hold on.
that
Here's the
the
other thing.
statement is
Here's
that they got misinformed by their suppliers in beforehand.
but here's the other thing.
How can you get information before it happens? That's my question. You can't say something that will happen in the future with 100% and it will happen and it does happen in the end. That just doesn't make sense in any way. Like that just sounds fishy in itself.
Are you trolling me?
No,
Okay, I just want to be sure. Um,
I'm serious.
yeah, I don't see why news reporters can't just mess up. Having
That's
it
not
was
that's a
too
live
too
broadcast.
large. So what you would be suggesting to me is that you would have to be suggesting that a controlled demolition is what you initially said it was, is that it's probably a controlled demolition that they painted as another incident of terrorism or whatever. That
Yes.
that the United States government sent information over to the BBC about a controlled demolition and
No,
said make it news.
no, no, no. I
Okay,
said the BBC said, and I quote, we got misinformed, well, we got misinformation by our suppliers, Reuters, which
okay.
Reuters is known to be somewhat of a, you could say, a dog to the governments.
Reuters.
Also,
Wait, I'm sorry.
yes,
Roy you think
Reuters,
you think
yes.
Reuters is like partial for the United States government? Or like
They suck every government's, you know what.
you sure? Like, are you really sure about that? You do you think that they like Trump or something?
No, I don't say they like Trump,
Well,
but they
Trump is
do
part of the
what the
government.
government says
He's
them.
in charge. He's partly in charge of it. And
Oh,
I just want to be
yeah.
clear to you, according to Media Bias Fact Check, right? Their factual reporting from Reuters is very high. They are listed as least biased, right? In the detailed report, their World Press Freedom rank in the UK is 35 over 180. And they're listed out of the United Kingdom, right? They're not a United States owned news outlet.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
So
They're international.
the BBC getting their information from a UK based news media is not odd. It's not odd to me. And accidentally getting a false report about World Trade Center 7 falling after 2 World Trade Centers just did what a lot of people thought was the impossible. It's just a mistake. It's just an honest mistake.
I'm still not convinced on that point.
You don't have to
Now
be
to another
convinced.
question.
You don't have to be
Yes,
convinced, but like
on
okay, go ahead.
this will be a little bit of an idea of mine, a little bit of a theory, which could be quite possible. So let's say it was a planned demolition. So how does what would sound better? The whole World Trade Center of New York being destroyed by a terrorist attack or just 2 buildings being destroyed?
It
What
wasn't
would you
just
think would work better
what do you think
to
happened during
imply?
9/11? What do you think happened in 9/11? Like, during 9/11, it wasn't just 2 buildings. The
I
Pentagon got
know.
hit.
No, they weren't. The Pentagon wasn't hit. That
Yes, it
plane
was.
was stopped.
No, the Pentagon the Pentagon got hit.
Was
So
which
you don't
plane was
actually
stopped?
you don't actually
Which
even know what happened during 9/11.
not completely. I'm more on the New York base, but still, what would the whole center of World Trade Center 7 in New York was destroyed on that day. And
So were
what
the
I'm
2
trying to
standing towers.
say, what I'm trying to say, what sounds better, having if you want to have your whole country back you up to attack or intervene in the Middle East, what sounds better? They destroyed 2 of our
Oh, here
buildings,
we go.
or
Okay, so
they
this is the
destroyed the
America wanted
whole.
oil. This is the America wanted oil, so they orchestrated
No,
September
no,
11.
no, not at all.
So why
Also,
did you just
it would
mention what
work
sounds
better
better to start a war with? Why did you just mention that?
because it's a good use. You can make good use of it. And if it was a planned demolition, you could just
Therapist,
say, okay, we're having a planned demolition,
therapist,
so
I'm
let's
gonna
just
end
put
this.
it into
No, no, no.
Paris.
I'm gonna end this. This was kind of a waste of my time, and this was a waste of my sanity. You don't know what happened. You don't even know what happened on 9/11. You didn't know that the Pentagon got hit. You seemed unaware of the fact that of the fact of the NIST report, in which the NIST report admitted that the World Trade Center 7 falling was absolutely a bit abnormal. That's something they conceded and admitted to. But what they did say is what caused the structural damage on World Trade Center 7 was not just debris falling, which a lot of conspiracy theorists think that it was just debris. It wasn't just debris, it was thermal expansion of essential columns and structural integrity of the trapezoid like building. It wasn't like, I don't know why you said that the building was like a different shape. It's shaped like a trapezoid. And so
I didn't
it's
know the word to call how to call it.
okay, that's fine. But you also so you didn't know that. You assumed that because photography looks one way, then the way that NIST explains it was wrong. You asserted a bunch of fallacies like the fallacy of the shit, the authority fallacy, that because the government says it, it must be wrong. Or you also asserted that if NIST changed their reports because of new information or a or progression of their understanding of an issue, it also must be wrong. I mean, there's like so many things wrong with this argument. Like, I kind of thought that this would at least be a challenge, and it hasn't. It's just been you asserting conspiracy theory level nonsense with nothing to back it up, but videos that like amateur level videos that people post on YouTube that only have 1,000 views. Like like this was a waste of my time. I thought this would actually be a challenge. I'm kind of disappointed, to be honest with you. So I'm going to end this conversation here. You don't know what you're talking about. And you should, if you're going to question something and be skeptical, you should at least have proper information in order to be skeptical instead of leveling this kind of bull crap to me and wasting my time.
Well, before we're
I'm
ending,
actually
so you're
insulted at the
saying that it's okay. You can have what opinion you ever want. I don't care of your opinion, to be honest. This was a fact-based debate. So you're saying that
yeah, on my part it was fact based.
350 architects and engineers of a high grade all are lying and saying that the World Trade Center didn't fall
Yeah,
like the NIST
here's the
report
funny
says.
thing. Okay, you offered up a wiki like okay, big oof, dude. Like you offered up this Wikipedia article about the architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, which is the organization that you're talking about. The Wikipedia article in and of itself says that Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth Inc. is an American nonprofit organization promoting the conspiracy theory that the World Trade Center was destroyed in a controlled demolition, disputing accepted conclusion about the 9/11 attacks, including the 9/11 Commission report, as well as FEMA's WTC building performance study and instead advocates for the World Trade Center controlled demolition conspiracy theories. The article states their claims and theories lack support among the relevant professional communities. So I'm going to end this conversation here. I do not want to continue this conversation.
Fine.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you both so much for debating. You know, I